How is everyone? Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me. Appreciate everyone joining today. This might be kind of fun to do. Let me know if everybody can hear me. Send me a quick message if you will. It'd be awesome. All right. Let's see here. All right. Everybody hear me okay? Yes, no, yes, no. All right. This is my first time on this multiple platform station, so hopefully this will work out well. I'm not seeing any comments yet, but hang on a second. Okay, cool. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. So, I figured since we're all kind of stuck around with our families, going a little bit crazy right now and trying to figure out all of this homeschooling and things like that, that I would take a little bit of your time, and certainly you can watch it later. And hopefully it'll be a good time to chat with your kids and kind of discuss a little bit about what I've read and some of the things that happened in the book, and maybe how you can relate those things to their lives and some of the things that maybe they're going through right now. And who knows, maybe your kids will start talking to you a little bit. But so anyway, if you're not familiar, this is a book that I and Mike Voorhees wrote about less than a year ago. And certainly want to give shout outs to Mike for all the hard work he did on this as well. But certainly wanted to read a little bit of it. And I thought about, do I just pick out little chapters here and there, or do I just kind of start from the beginning? So I figured what we'll try to do is every day do a little bit of reading and see how long this lasts. So as long as people are still interested in doing it, certainly we'll do some more reading. So we're just literally going to just start right from the very beginning today. And I'm going to read maybe a chapter and a half, 2 chapters, somewhere around in there. So if you got to go. I understand it completely. Want to come back, and we'll certainly be able to replay it on Facebook and YouTube and things later. So anyway, just want to get started. Have you ever experienced a moment in time where everything in your life is right on track and you are destined to achieve the big plans you had set for your future? As a young teenager, I was in that enviable position. Everything seemed to be going just the way I wanted it. I was a good student, class president, and one of the best athletes at Lumberton Junior High. Each day, a feeling of excitement, freedom, and optimism radiated from me, with the confidence that no obstacles could keep me from achieving my dreams. Somebody my age was eventually going to be a professional athlete, so why wouldn't that be me? As adults, I'm not the greatest at reading live anyway. So as adults, we don't often muster that level of excitement about what the future holds. We don't truly enjoy the peaks of life because we have toiled so long in the valleys. If you're not focused on your purpose, you can subsist in a safe, stable plane where success and unabashed joy exist in only a distant horizon. If you think back to your teenage years, you were full of promise. No matter your circumstances, it was a time where you began to mold yourself and figure out who you wanted to be. You still had control of your future, what field you would pursue, where you would live, who you would marry, and how you would make your mark on the world. As adults, we live with those choices. Do we live up to our potential? Are we successful in the matters that are most important to us? Adulthood makes us more rigid, and the consequences are more severe if we decide to change our path. If you minimize your risk, you can continue to live in your comfort zone, but you would never achieve anything spectacular. It's never too late to change your path. As long as you have a breath, you have a chance. During my early teens, I felt invincible. I was chasing my dreams and capitalizing on my opportunities. Nobody had given me a good reason why I couldn't be an NFL star, and I built my future around becoming a professional football player. It was going to happen. I had the skills, the body, the work ethic, intelligence, and drive. I was indestructible and oblivious. Nothing could ruin my plans. Chapter 1. During the school year, I was a star of the football and basketball teams, winner of a few best all-around awards, and playing the main role in both church and school theatrical programs. During the summer, I was a proud member of the Ski Hills, a semi-professional water ski troupe. Among the summer campers at White Lake, North Carolina, the Ski Hills were royalty. I had been chasing the back of a boat since I was 4 years old. It's what you do when you live on the lake for the summer. Both of my parents worked in education, and they were devoted to giving my sister and me an unforgettable childhood, anchored in spirituality and structure and splashed with adventure and excitement. To say we were blessed as kids would be an understatement. Our parents provided what we needed, not always what we wanted. So we learned the value of hard work at a young age. Every summer, we packed up our house and headed to our little spot in paradise. White Lake may not be what most people consider paradise, but from a kid from rural Lumberton, North Carolina, it was everything. I learned to ski before I could tie my shoes. I loved the exhilaration of cruising across the water behind a powerful boat. And when your mom is worried about your safety, but your dad says he can do it, you feel like the bravest 4-year-old in the world. Budding athletes learn to imitate the swing of their favorite home run hitter or jump shot of their favorite basketball player. But as a budding skier, we only needed to look out on the lake and be inspired by our local legends of the water, the White Lake Ski Hills. From the early 1970s to the early 1990s, the Ski Hills performed stunts that you might see in the movie like Jaws 3. Though the Ski Hills were just teenagers who sometimes performed for dozens of spectators, their skill on the water rivaled that of the performers at Cypress Gardens, the Florida theme park that drew thousands of paying customers every weekend. For years, I spent summers watching the teenagers and trying to imitate their tricks. And by the time my voice dropped, I had excelled to the point I earned an offer to ski with the Ski Hills. For the next few years, I learned the ropes, the flips, the tricks. I was loving every moment of it. We didn't have professional trainers, expert coaches, or unlimited budget to buy the latest ski gear. But we did have supportive parents, reckless spirits, and just enough maturity to understand the line between taking a risk and being completely idiotic. Mostly. We did all of our training at White Lake, where you could hook up your RV, enjoy a stunning view of the sunset over the water, and step back in time about 30 years. During the June and July, our practice sessions started as soon as we rolled out of beds from our trailers and campers, and lasted until the little red light came on top of the White Lake Water Tower, signaling us to head back home. Most days, my parents would catch a glimpse of me passing by in the boat, or maybe at lunchtime if I brought some friends over. Otherwise, I would be on the water till dark. White Lake is a quaint resort with crystal clear waters and white sand. It was a kid's paradise and was marketed as the nation's safest beach. Perhaps because there had not ever been a rip current, a shark bite, or even a jellyfish sting in the freshwater lake. The many small inns and cottages offered rooms at reasonable prices, but most stayed in their trailers or campers. It was the working man's class place at the beach. There was no pretension, no posturing, and the biggest splash was not made by the biggest yacht. but by our shoestring budget ski team. Visitors to White Lake mostly came from 4 counties surrounding Bladen County. And we all shared the same upbringing, the same draw, and the same appreciation for blue-collar fun. Gols's Beach was the hub of White Lake, featuring an arcade, mini amusement park, the most competitive of bingo parlors, putt-putt golf, water slides, and a place to sit in the shade with a burger in a Dairy Queen blizzard on a scorching July afternoon. Distractions were plentiful for teenage boys, and water skiing was a good way to start a conversation with a cute girl who would be on the lake for a week. A good opening line could set the stage for an ultra-romantic lake with acoustic guitar and inspiration of Boys to Men. Teenage boys would serenade pretty girls. The singing may not be worthy of a Star Search appearance, but our local status and the fact we had a vote made for any lacking vocal talent. Even a long day late June seemed too short to capture all of the energy and the vitality of each scene. Each night was filled with anticipation of what the next day may bring. Life was simple. And while we milked it for every ounce of exhilaration, we never stopped to appreciate it. During the daily practice sessions, we experimented with what our bodies could do. We really should have had EMS standing by on the beach, because every maneuver was a potential medical emergency. A barefooter could catch a pinky toe at the water, a minuscule mistake that would send him flipping and skipping uncontrollably across the water, which was as unforgiving as the parking lot cement when you skidded across it at 35 miles per hour. Violent body slams into the water literally turned our eyelids inside out, bloodied our noses, and knocked the wind out of us. The water rushed into every opening, yes, like a freshwater enema. We could have filled a complete season of America's Funniest Home Videos as our bodies recklessly rumbled, bounced, skidded across White Lake. One oversight could put a skier in a precarious position. By the time we forgot to wet the jump ramp properly as one of our buddies laid down a sharp cut to hit the ramp at the perfect speed. Unfortunately, the friction of the dry ramp stopped his skis dead cold as soon as they hit the ramp, sending the teen slamming face first into the ramp. His limp body bounced and skidded up the ramp with just enough momentum to fall over the peak into the lake. Coincidentally, he landed right next to the 2 guys who were supposed to be wetting the ramp. I don't think the full body bruises were soothed by the culprits when the only thing they could say was, "Oops, I didn't realize you were that close." As long as no one needed medical attention, we enjoyed the laughs on the boat. We would relive every detail during the lively conversations later, and our battle scars and visual cues to retell the story to anyone else who would listen. The grueling practices, however, provided more than just great laughs to share. We learned lessons. We never had another dry jump ramp that prepared us for moments like the Tucker Lake show, when we could make a small town ooh and ah at maneuvers they couldn't see anywhere else without having to travel hundreds of miles. Tucker Lake. Nestled on the corner of I-40 and 95, you will find Tucker Lake. Owned by the Tucker family, it's a 30-acre utopia where locals can cool off and enjoy a family day beating the Carolina heat. The Tuckers wanted to do something extra special for their community, so they hired the Ski Hills to bring their 4 powerful ski boats and entire ski team to put on a show for the patrons. So I was pumped for the first show, and I was oblivious to the coffee table in the middle of the lake house. As I ran through the house that morning, I kicked it really hard with a shoeless foot. The pinky toenail on my left foot was no competition for the hard oaked leg. It peeled that little nail all the way back, so it was barely hanging on by a thread of skin and flapping in the wind, bleeding profusely. I don't know if you have ever had a heartbeat in your toe before, but I felt like Daffy Duck after getting an anvil dropped on his foot. It was pulsing. Pain surrendered to panic when I realized that a couple hours away from the first ski show of the season, and I had a toenail that was blowing in the breeze. I thought of sliding that foot into the thought of sliding that foot into those tight rubber ski boots was horrifying. I called a friend on the team to explain how I wasn't going to be able to go to the ski show. I was looking for comfort and understanding, but my friend merely ridiculed me and questioned my manhood until I agreed that the pinky toe injury would not keep me off of the water. I turned to my dad, consummate problem solver. He was more than happy to help me find a way to deal with that dangling toenail. I should have been a little skeptical with his enthusiasm, but I trusted his judgment. The next thing I know, he's handing me a pair of pliers. Just grab the nail as tight as you can and just snatch it off. It'll be like pulling a Band-Aid. No. It will not feel like pulling a Band-Aid, but I'm tough. I'm an athlete. I can handle it. I squeezed the pitiful nail tight, braced for the pain, counted to 3, and released the pliers before I could pull. I couldn't go through with it. My dad understood my commitment issues in holding the tool long enough to finish the job, so he found me a pair of vice grip pliers. Problem solved, he said. Just lock down on that nail and throw them across the room. It'll be like pulling out a tooth. I swear to you, if cell phones had been in existence, he would have been videotaping the whole ordeal to put it on YouTube. I still couldn't do it. I was beginning to question my own manhood. So I went underneath the sink and found the perfect solution. Redneck Chrome. Yes, Redneck Chrome, also known as duct tape. If MacGyver can build an airplane out of duct tape, it must be strong enough to hold on my pinky toenail. I pushed the nail down as far as I could and wrapped it as tight as I could stomach. The bleeding stopped. It wasn't flapping loosely anymore, and I was ready for the show. Excited to spend an epic day with my buddies, doing what we do best, showing off on the water. When the ski team hit the water at Tucker Lake, mothers put on sunscreen, kids stopped splashing, mothers lifted babies on their shoulders. In a time before wakeboards gained popularity, our skiers' athletic barrel rolls and complete flips were the pinnacle of athleticism on the water. At the beginning of the show, our barefoot skiers captured the attention of the families on the beach. One skier dropped into the water at the height of 12 feet, popped up behind the powerful water boat, and barefoot skied around the lake before dismounting with a dramatic headfirst flip. We had some supremely gifted kids on the team. Danny Faircloth being one of the more talented one of the bunch. He could do a trick that seemed to defy logic, a 360-degree circle around the boat. He would ski wide over the wake and gain up so much momentum that he could slingshot himself around the front of the boat that was pulling him as the driver turned the vessel sharply in the opposite direction, going under Danny's ski rope. It would take a physics professor to explain it, but even a grade schooler could appreciate it. One of my acts was less about awe-inspiring athleticism and more about shriek-inducing entertainment. Between acts, I put on a hot, heavy gorilla suit and snuck down the beach, where I found one mother so engaged with her children that she didn't notice the approaching gorilla. I sat down close enough where she could sense my presence. Her kids' mouths gaped open, and she finally looked over her shoulder and was startled by the first glimpse of the furry black creature on her blanket. She screamed and pushed me away playfully. I chased the kids around on the sand. They screamed with delight until the heat inside the suit overwhelmed me. I had to dash back to the dock to take off the mask and catch my breath. The episode on the beach foreshadowed one of my favorite acts. A gorilla on the beach is a sight, for some of those kids will never forget. But who's ever seen a gorilla on water skis? The crowd loved the spectacle, but it wasn't easy to orchestrate. As soon as the gorilla suit hit the lake, it absorbed so much water that the depth of the lake dropped about 6 inches. And in the waterlogged 100-pound gorilla suit, I skied across the lake, chasing Martha Huggins. A year older than me, but one of the coolest chicks in southeastern North Carolina. My boat chased hers, swinging me around wide enough to get within an arm's reach before she slipped away in the opposite direction. Finally, I got enough momentum. I dropped the rope, skied across the water, where I grabbed around her waist, my skis outside of hers. For once, the crowd was on the beast's side, applauding when I reached the beauty. Martha shimmied away. Using a ski rope that she had discreetly passed to me, I chased her around the wake behind her boat until she finally submitted to my charms. Together, we skied one last lap around the lake to adoring spectators. It was Americana at its finest. Small crowds, entertained by talented kids, whose only real reward was a smile on a child's face or the scattered applause from the shore. After the gorilla act, After the gorilla act, all that remained was the pyramid, an act that had been practiced by tying ropes to a cypress tree on the shore at White Lake. During practices, the bottom row would assume skiers' stances and teach the lightweights to step where not to step as they ascended. On the ground beneath the cypress tree, a fall could lead to a dog pile of laughter, but at 25 miles per hour on the water, the danger was very real. A backward fall could be painful. A forward fall could mean being run over by at least one pair of skis. And if the base lost its balance, the collapsing pyramid would surely mean some serious bruises and scrapes if we were lucky. The lengths of the ropes had to be precise and specific to each skier, and our organizers, volunteer parents, made sure they were measured to length. We had accomplished what we had traveled 2 hours to do, give a crowd of locals an experience they would never soon forget. After the ramp jumpers, the comedy acts, the trick skiers, and the wild, crazy barefooters, we prepared for the grand finale. The pyramid was daunting, but we had rehearsed it so often that we might be able to do it blindfolded. Fortunately, we never tried it that way. The question on this Saturday at Tucker Lake was, would we even have time to build the pyramid? Dark clouds stacked across the horizon of Interstate 40. As the 9 of us perched on the floating dock, the imminent summer thunderstorm was building rapidly. It could swallow itself up and disappear, or it could erupt into a terrifying barrage of stinging rain, lightning and ground-shaking thunder. The ski hill's parents kept a weary eye on the foreboding sky. Long before apps could tell you where the nearest strike of lightning was 3.61 miles away. And the other eye was on us. And they could see how badly we wanted to build the pyramid. They made a calculated decision that the storm was far enough away that we could complete our final act. The ski boat, powerful enough to pull 9 skiers at 20 to 25 miles an hour, thundered from the dock. 4 kids on the top row didn't need skis. They sat on our laps on the floating dock with their feet on top of our ski boots, and we wrapped our arms around them as the boat pulled us all up. When the boat took off, the bases stood strong. The younger boys and sisters started climbing. Foot on thigh, hand on head, next foot on shoulder blade. Within seconds, they were all up. Arms locked at the shoulders as the girls waved to the crowd with their outside arm, covered by long-sleeved, sparkly red swimsuits. After circling the lake a couple of times, to the delight of the crowd, the upper tier climbed down and we were all released our ropes in synchronization. Then we all climbed into the back of the boat for an easy ride back to the dock. Our stunt had been successful, and another day of risk-taking on the water had come to an end. For a brief few moments, the looming clouds were forgotten amid the euphoria of accomplishment and pleasure of the entertaining a crowd of strangers. It was time to pack up. We all had jobs to do. Each ski member had a role in the show and also in packing up. If one person didn't carry their weight, someone else had to pick it up for them. We certainly had our fair share of fun traveling with the ski hills, but we learned so much more. With teamwork, dependability, and at the top of the list, dependability at the top of the list, two fathers guided the boat back to the floating dock that traveled with our team. And about 20 yards short of the shore, they turned the rear of the boat towards dry land to give us plenty of room to exit and start up the uploading process. All 9 skiers, still in celebratory mode, scrambled towards the shore, idling behind the idling boat in waist-deep water, helping to meticulously organize the ropes and skis. Packing was as orchestrated as a performance. The storm was looming, and the wind was picking up, and we needed to get off of the water. As it turns out, lightning wasn't what we needed to be worried about that day. So, I know you're bored to death at this point. So I'm going to stop for today after chapter 1. We will resume with chapter 2. So I would encourage you seriously just to take some time with your family and go through this video and listen to it. And as we go through the book through the next several days, I will possibly read as much of this book as you guys can tolerate, as long as we keep getting positive responses. And please share this with other people as well. I think it's really important to get people out there. So really, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me today. And we'll do this again tomorrow. I will post, once again, we'll try to do it around the same time. You let me know if there's a better time of the day. I know the kids are doing a lot of schoolwork in the morning and things like that, so I definitely wanted to make it so that we could have a time where everybody can sit down. But you can certainly watch it on replay later on if you want to. So we'll just plan tomorrow again at 2 o'clock, and we'll continue with chapter 2, which is labeled Blood in the Water. So thank you guys again so much, and thanks for sharing, and thanks for hanging out. And we will see you guys tomorrow.